G'day guys, welcome back to the Boundary Riders YouTube channel. Today we are here to do a very early preview of the 2024 season. All the teams we'll be taking a look at today and their best 23 at this stage just after the trade period. This is basically our thoughts so far, maybe a little bit of a prediction of where teams will be finishing at the end of next year. Obviously it's a long way away. Basically we're 12 months away from the end of the season, but I thought just before the trade period ended we would actually take a look. We've got my brother here, Jack, who has helped me with these 20 best 23s and has helped me and also made his own predictions. We have a few that are a bit different, but overall I think they are pretty similar in a lot of ways. But end of the day, we do have all 18 teams to take a look at. And by the way, this will be split into 3 different videos, as we'll be doing not a huge dive into each team, but they will be taking 4 or 5 minutes. So this will be split into 3 separate videos. So, of course, we will start off with the Adelaide Crows. So, with the Adelaide Crows, at the end of the year, they missed out on finals by a game, I think, and obviously they lost it by a goalpost, essentially. They were very close to making the finals. Yes, the Ben Keys goal would have got them in there if the other results went exactly the same way. Nonetheless, we do have the best 23 here on screen for the Adelaide Crows. There isn't any of the pickups that they got, which is Chris Burgess, in our best 23. I had him in there originally over Thilthorpe. My brothers thought him to put Thilthorpe in the team. Otherwise, I think for ruck stocks, basically, for more versatility.
I think it gives him more versatility when O'Brien's resting on the bench.
I just think that Burgess gives him a lot more goal-kicking power, and I think Thilthorpe is very on and off when he's kicking goals. That was the big reason why I put Burgess in the team. That was basically the only player they picked up in the trade period, the Adelaide Crows, so not too much is changing from the trade period. However, I think with another year into a lot of their young players, especially in their defence, I think that they should be on the rise in season 2024.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think... another pre-season into some of their defenders and some of their midfielders will benefit them.
Yeah, I think the likes of like Rochelle, Saligo, Pedler, those ones sort of will be, another year into a pre-season. Even players like Michael Annie, Murray and Butts, they'll be able to get some more, probably sit in the weights room, get some extra body on them, and they'll be able to compete a lot better with some of the key forwards in the comp. So I think all of them can definitely keep on improving. I think their forward line has probably been their best line last year. So I think they can just definitely improve as well. One that may have raised a few eyebrows is the fact that we have picked Berry over Crouch. Obviously Berry didn't play a lot last year for Adelaide, and especially at the end of the year, Crouch did take the role. So you basically said that that's basically on age. You think that Berry's kind of ready to go, take over his role in the team. You think Crouch will be back in the reserves for the Crows next year?
Yeah, I do. I think the contested ability that Berry brings, being a younger player, will be good for the Crows in the long run next season.
So basically we go to our predictions now. I've picked the Crows to be within about 7th to 10th. So either low in the 8 or just outside the 8. I think that's probably a fair point to make. I don't think they'll be jumping into the top 4. I still think their defence is a little bit inexperienced, and I think that a defence can make or break for a top 4 team. So that's why I've put them in the bottom end of the top 8 to high end of the bottom 8. I do think at the end of the day, though, how the Crows played last year and how close they got to finals, I think the only pass mark for the Crows in 2024 is making finals. So those are my couple of points with the Adelaide Crows. What have you said for predictions and stuff?
I've went pretty much the same prediction as you. I think they'll finish low in the top 8, maybe miss. But I believe that they need to fix up their ability to win away from home. They could win any game at home all season last season. They could win them all. They were competitive in a lot of games away later in the season, but they couldn't win them. So that did cost them in the end. And I think that their pass mark has got to be finals, like you said. They have to make finals next season.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough call. I think this young list as well, they're definitely building. And I think that, I think finals, I think both of us, and I think many people would be saying that finals is a pass mark for the Crows in season 2024. But next up, we'll be moving on to the Brisbane Lions. So the Lions are up next. Obviously, runners-up in 2023. Really good season, especially towards the end. Having the Fortress up at the Gabba. They're going to be very hard to beat in 2024 yet again. We do have their best 23 screen right now. Not any changes for recruits at this stage, as Duday will not be fit for the start of the season, and Ryan, I don't think, makes their best team at this stage. We do have Ashcroft in the team, but there's obviously an injury cloud on him, but at this stage we do have him in the team. The rest of the Brisbane Lions lineup is basically what they lined up in the grand final, minus Jack Payne. Jack Payne we have put in the best 22, and Gardner has been dropped out of the team. I think that he would have made the best team at the end of the season if it wasn't for the fact that he got injured in the qualifying final.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's basically what we've got for the 22. I don't think we have too many concerns there, any differing opinions on that. I do think that Brisbane are going to be right up there again. I think they could probably do a little bit more help still down back. I still think that's still their most questioning position. However, I think towards the end of the season we did show that the Lions defence can definitely hold up. And if some little things changed in that grand final, they may well have been champions of the AFL.
Yeah, exactly. I think just one or two incidents in that grand final cost them, really.
Yeah.
And the teams, we know what they can do. They can win at home. They struggle a bit at the MCG, but besides from that, it's a strong team.
They're usually one of the best teams in the home and away season.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to play at the MCG. If they can fix up the MCG wise, then I think they're every chance of being right up there again in 2024.
Yeah.
As my prediction, I've got them in the top 4, the Brisbane Lions. I think that's a pretty fair enough statement. They should be right back there again. And I think that the only pass mark for the Brisbane Lions is to win it. I don't think that they've got to the final stage now. They've got the list that I think can get them there. At this point now, the only pass mark for the Lions in 2024 is to win it.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to be back right at the MCG in 2024, last Saturday in September, and win it. I think that's really the only pass mark for the Lions. Wouldn't be a failure if they didn't win it, but I think, if they got to the grand final and lost, I think that's pretty good. But at the end of the day, I think the only thing that Brisbane Lions fans want now is a premiership.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Brandon, what all you said was right. They've picked up a few players that are better for the depth and maybe in the long run, but they have to just win it. Their predictions, I've got them in the top 4, and they have to win. That's their pass mark.
Yeah, and also as well, if they do get the home qualifying final next year, obviously way down the road, that just gives them almost an automatic passage to the grand final yet again, if they can continue their great form that they have at home, which I don't really see any reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
So after that, we get to Carlton. Now, Carlton made a dream run at the end of the season with a huge winning streak at the end of the home and away season, and then won 2 of their finals, a elimination final against the Swans and a semi-final against the Demons, then just bowed out against the Lions in the prelim final after having a really good start to that game, but at the end of the day, they got beaten by the better side. Carlton's best 23 going into next season doesn't have any recruits either. I do think that Elijah Holland would be in the best 23 for the Carlton Blues. However, seeing that he is going to be suspended, obviously he won't be in the best team for round 1. I don't think there's really too many changes here. Most of this team was in the prelim final, minus Matt Owies. He was replaced by, I believe, Fogarty. But I do think that Owies is a better forward. And I do also see as well we've put Zach Williams on the bench, who was injured all of 2023.
Yeah.
So that is basically what my thoughts are. I do believe that you said that Pidnett should be in the team. I did have him out originally. You said that they probably need that ruck depth with De Koning.
Yeah. I think with the team that the Carlton have, I think putting in a player like one of the tall players in, say, a Young or a Mackay as a backup ruck will really hurt the Blues if they get injured doing the resting ruck role. So I think Pidnett needs to be in that team. But I think besides from that, it's probably right. The Blues will always rue the prelim final of not playing Matt Owies, and premise. I've got them predicting in the top 4 next season, probably around mid top 8 positions, about 3 to 6. They'll do what they did this year, and I think a pass mark for them is to be get to the prelim again.
Yeah, I've got Carlton's prediction between about 4th and 8th. I think they'll be pretty similar to what they had last year. I think a pass mark for Carlton would be semis, if not a prelim. I think a grand final may be a little bit too far at this stage. I'm still thinking that their depth can be questioned at times, in my opinion. And I just think that Carlton, I don't know, I think they had a really good run at the end of last year. And I think when going on a big run, some of the cracks that would have been forming would have been covered over a little bit easier. So we'll see how they start this, in 2024. I think, like you said, you thinking a little bit higher, just bottom of the top 4, if not in the 5th to 8th spot. I'm thinking around 5th to 8th, in my opinion. I think semi-finals, prelims, probably a pass mark for Carlton. After that, we get to the reigning premiers at this stage, which will be Collingwood. So, obviously, Collingwood are the premiers going into 2024. Had a massive run, probably in the final series. They didn't really come into the finals in the best of form, but they hit their stride at the right moment. And obviously, on grand final day, were able to pip Brisbane at the post right at the end. It was a massive grand final. And this is the best 23 going into Collingwood's 2024 season. And we do have the one recruit in Lachie Schultz coming in. And we do have Frampton coming out of that team from the grand final. Also, McStay will be in their best team. Obviously, he was injured for the grand final. I think Lachie Schultz is probably, at this stage on paper, the best recruit of anyone, in my opinion. I think that this is incredibly underrated. And I think that if he was playing in a Victorian team before this, I think that this would be a bigger talking point. I think that the fact that he plays at Fremantle is the reason that this isn't being cast as a really good pickup for Collingwood. Yeah,
I think the Victorian media all trade period were trying to say that he's such a good player. They don't really realise how big a good player he actually is, because while playing in Perth, no one really takes notice of it
unless you're in Perth.
Or watch every game like we do.
Yeah. Well, looking at Collingwood's forward line now, I still think that they're lacking a big key forward. I don't think McStay and Myercheck bring the goals that they probably should. So that's probably my big concern of Collingwood going into next year. However, the acquisition of Lachie Schultz does bring some really good firepower up forward. The fact now they've got this sort of mosquito fleet, if you could call them that, with Bobby Hill, Lachie Schultz, and Bo McQuarrie up there, and then Jamie Elliott playing as that pseudo third man. I think that's a really potent forward line, and also the likes of Jordan De Goey going forward at times would be really good for them. I think Collingwood, once again, just be up there again. I think a pass mark would obviously be for them to go back to back. I think that's a fair enough thing to say. They've got the list. They've got young players coming up, and they've also got their experienced players still there. I do think as well, as a prediction, it's very early on, but I think now Lachie Schultz is a great player to bring into the club. I think top 4 is a pass. Top 2 is a pass. Is a prediction for me. I think they're going to be getting right back up there again. I don't think there's any reason to see this side not making it right at the deep end of September next year.
Yeah, and you've also got to think of the other acquisition that they have is the MCG. They just dominate the MCG. They get the crowds at 70,000 plus every game, every home game. So that's always also a good influence for them, which is why I think they will be in the top 2 predictions and pass marks of back-to-back, really.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough thing to say for Collingwood. So I think Collingwood fans definitely got a lot of good things to come in the next couple of years. Obviously, winning a premiership could be on a bit of a dynasty if they can keep this list together and just keep on pushing towards, premiership glory again.
Yeah.
Even though I'm biting my tongue as someone who's not exactly a huge Collingwood fan. But anyway, I mean, it is good to see a great team playing well. So, but after that, we move to Essendon. So, Essendon are up next. Obviously, Probably one of the biggest players in the trade period. Picked up 4 players, being Mackay, Gresham, Dersma and Goldstein. We do have their best 23 up right now. You can see in the green the recruits. We do have Goldstein out of the side at this stage. We do have Dersma on the bench, Gresham at half forward and Mackay at centre half back. This is going to be interesting, Essendon. We've seen big trade periods from them in the past and not have to do a lot with them. They still haven't been able to win a final, even though they've had all these big trade periods. And it's pretty hard to just believe that Essendon are just going to improve a lot. I do think the acquisition of Dersma was good. I think that's their best one, to be honest. Gresham, I don't know, he's never really been able to show it on the big stage, in my opinion. Mackay, overrated, I think. And Goldstein, I think he's a very good get for them, but I don't know. I had him in the best 23, but you kicked him out for, what's his name? Tatis, I believe?
Tatis, yeah.
Satis or something. Sorry, I've got his name completely wrong. I'm sorry about that. But you've picked the youth and the run over Goldstein's experience. My reasoning for putting Goldstein in the team is the fact that I think he can play forward at times and he's pretty decent up there, but I understand why we've gone with the youth for Essendon's best team. To be honest, though, this doesn't really scream out to me as a finals team or a finals contender going into next year.
100%, I don't think it does. Like, you got players that couldn't even make their own teams.
Yeah.
Coming into a 22 of Essendon, like Gresham could hardly get into the team. He's a selfish player anyway. Dersma couldn't do it at Port Adelaide. Maybe, being in a new club will be benefit him. Goldstein, I think, is too old, and Mackay is the most overrated defender this trade period, and he's somehow being
you could be
highest paid.
I mean, you could be a little bit harsher if you want.
Oh well,
I get what you're saying.
I think, but like with the Goldstein being not in the best 23, I think Peter Wright can take the ruck role when Draper needs to rest, and I just think that this team still isn't going to win them a final.
I think as well, this team's not much mongrel in them. I do think that if Setterfield can come back, he was really good at the start of the season for Essendon and then got injured.
Yeah.
I think he does bring some mongrel to their midfield, but at the end of the day, I don't see this team improving on last year, to be honest. I have Essendon predicted around 9 to 13, in my opinion. But honestly, I think at this stage, Essendon have been missing finals for way too long, not improving in finals. And at this stage, I think the fans are crying out for less than just this mediocre football club that they've been for so long. I honestly think that finals is a pass mark for Essendon this year, because if they don't make finals, I just don't know when they're going to, because they just can continually bring in these players to try and promote that they're going to be a big side next year. And I think this is also a very big year for Jake Stringer. If he is not in their best 23 early in the season, or not bringing his best, I think the likes of Menzies will be taking his spot pretty quickly. Yeah. And I think his career will be numbered. His days of his career will be numbered, because this is a do or die season for him.
Yeah. And when you look at it, like, you got Gresham, who does that sort of role that can play both midfield and forwards, and you've got players like Cox and Hobbs and Menzies and all that. You got so many younger players that could take over Stringer's role really early in the season. With Stringer also getting a lot of injuries lately, so in the last couple of seasons, so it's going to be a very interesting how they go. I've got them pretty much where you've got them, just outside the 8. They're past marks finals, and sadly, I think it keeps on going that they're not going to make finals again.
So that's basically our review of Essendon. Really disappointing team, I think, at the moment. And yeah, we'll see how they go. I just think this is, again, going to be another mediocre season for them. But now we'll move to Fremantle. So now we get to Fremantle. Now, they did nothing in the trade period other than lose a bunch of players. They lost the likes of Henry, and that was one of their best wingmen in the team. We do have their best 23 on screen right now. Obviously, no green for no new recruits. Will be interesting how they play either Darcy or Jackson. We do have Jackson on the bench here, Darcy in the ruck. On paper, it doesn't look like the worst team for Freo, but we've just seen that Tabner can never get in the team. He's always injured. Their forward stocks are very low now. They've lost Lockie Schultz as well. We'll see if Life can come back and play a good role for them, but again, he's been injury prone for at least 3 or 4 seasons now. We've had to put Frederick on the wing. I think he's in for a big year for Frederick. I think he's a very good player. But again, nothing screams out to me why Fremantle are going to improve on last year. That's just my thoughts at this stage. I think the likes of Brody could make the team pretty quickly if a couple of midfielders don't lift. But he was really good in 2022 and arguably really helped them to finals, but was unsighted for most of 2023.
Yeah.
So I've got Fremantle at the moment probably finishing around 12th to 16th. I've got them pretty low. I don't really see Fremantle improving much at all. I think that their defence still holds up pretty well, and I think that if Young can move into that midfield, maybe that adds something a little bit different to them. But I still always think if you're not bringing in recruits as a team, you're going backwards. And the fact that they haven't recruited anyone from the trade period and really haven't been able to attract many players from trade periods in seasons past, I think the Fremantle are in for a tough year. I do think that a pass mark for them would be just finishing outside the 8 for about 9th to 11th or 12th. That's my pass mark for Freo. But I don't see finals coming this year. And I think that Justin Longmuir is one of the most under pressure coaches going into 2024.
Yeah, you think you were brutal. You think I was brutal about Essendon. I'm going to be brutal here about Freo. They look... This forward line is pretty laughable, really. Taberner's always injured. Fyfe's never there. They lose a few of those. They've got Frederick. They move O'Driscoll in there. It just... I don't know where to look for them. It's very hard to look at any benefits for them. Like, they look at their defence, but their defence is the only ones that have kept them alive in matches, really.
Yeah.
Like, they don't get a lot of injuries to their backline, which has helped them a lot.
Yeah. Other than Alex Pearce, who's likely been healthy for them the last year or so.
Yeah, and you look at their midfield, like you've got Brayshaw, Sarong, O'Meara.
That's where it drops off.
That's where it drops off. You got Brody coming in, like you mentioned, but there's not a lot of experience there. And the one ability they had was winning at home, and they didn't do that many times last year. So I've got them in the bottom 4. I think they'll finish in 15th to 18th. And I think a pass mark is going to be, about 10 to 14. They have to win. They have to be able to win 6 to 8 games at home. This is a pass mark this next season because they lost their ability to win at home, which was their weapon, and they just can't do that. And I think it's going to be a really disappointing season for them next year.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, and I think that Freo, basically since making the finals in 2022, have really dropped off the face of the earth, really.
Yeah, well...
And they look like they're about to come with Jackson coming to the club. They did have a few injuries last year, but at the end of the day, they should have been back in the finals race again, and they weren't. And to be honest, other than like a 4 or 5 week period last year, they had a really, really poor season.
Yeah, well, like you said, if you're not improving, if you're not bringing in players, you're not improving, and they're going backwards with what the team looks like.
Yeah, well, I think that's fair enough. I think they're a team going backwards, and at this stage, like I said, Justin Longmuir is probably the most under pressure coach going into next year. But now we will be moving to Geelong.